Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon. Today we're going to be talking about laning in the duo lane. I'm going to specifically go over two different lane phases and kind of just explain to you guys the thought process. So I'm duo with a Sovereign ADC, so in this game you're going to see what two players who actually know what they're doing. You know, obviously there's differences when you're in solo queue, you know, when you have a random ADC, whatever. But I'm going to kind of show you guys the typical proper things you should be doing in lanes, kind of depending on a couple different factors. So some lanes you're going to have more of the poke advantage, but not have as great all in. Your goal is just going to be to more poke people out and to really focus on that. And in a lane like that, this is going to be like the first one, right? Karma, Ezreal, very much poke focus lane, trying to get a lot of pressure just through range advantage, through poking people, stuff like that. When that's your goal, you really want to push the lane early like you saw here, where we were autoing the wave right away. The reason that you want to get the wave pushed in as quick as possible when you're in this type of scenario is because it allows you to push them under their turret and then start to poke them under their turret. Then you're going to auto attack the wave basically as soon as it comes here and then start trading around your level advantage. So because I'm up a level on them, you can see how we constantly are poking, pressuring them under turret. And so what happens then is oftentimes they're just going to sit under their turret trying to farm. And so when they're sitting under their turret trying to farm like that, you have to make sure that you're poking the turret so that you can potentially get platings out to get yourself a guaranteed gold lead, and then continuing to poke the enemy whenever they walk up to try to prevent you from doing so. So you can see how basically as soon as the wave comes, we immediately keep hitting it, keep poking the enemy out, getting a bit of a health lead, and then just mainly focusing again on getting those turret plates, which is going to eventually allow us to get a better recall than the enemy, which allows us to come back to lane stronger and just overall helps us out a lot. A couple other important things to keep in mind is that you can see how we're standing on the opposite sides of the lane. So I'm on the right side, and my Ezreal is typically standing more towards the river. So usually the support is going to control the bush side of the lane, and then the ADC is going to control the river side of the lane. And then again, you see us now poking out, and this is when we get our recall off. The reason we recall here is because this is a timer where Ezreal can potentially buy boots if he wants, or can buy tier if that's what he prefers, but should typically be buying boots most of the time on most ADCs, hitting that early power spike, and then allowing you again to come back to the lane stronger than your opponents with a gold lead on your opponents because of the fact that you poked out the turret plates. And then we also get to be to the lane first, as you can see here, because our opponents had to recall late. So because they had to recall late, we're able to do the exact same thing that we did early on in the lane. And so the time that you're going to want to play the lane like this, again, pushing the wave into the enemy as hard as you can, poking turret plates, these types of things, it's going to be when you have range and poke advantages. So if you're a Caitlyn Melio, if you're an Ezreal Karma, you know, Varus with Lux, whatever, any type of poke lane, this is the type of thing, this is how you're going to really want to play it. And you can just see we continue doing the same thing, standing a bit spread out from each other, constantly poking out the turret plates. Not only does this give us an early gold lead, but it also allows us to potentially have a Herald dropped and actually kill the turret. So say that our jungler got the Herald and then decided to drop it on our lane, we'd actually get a turret out of it. Now, obviously in this game, we can see the game's going very bad in other lanes. And so we're not getting any crazy lead because, you know, jungle wasn't here. Jungle goes and then just dies, you know, in river. So like, even in this type of scenario, sometimes the game doesn't go super well, and that's something I want to point out as well. It doesn't mean that you're just going to win the lane just because you do these things. These are usually things that are going to get you gold leads, but you're not going to, you know, unless the enemy make a mistake or your jungle comes, it's not like you're going to get an, you know, insane gold lead. We have the gold lead, we have the pressure advantage, we had the ability to rotate first, and sometimes even when you play everything perfectly, it still doesn't work out super well. But in this case, again, you see how we've constantly poked them out under their turrets. We're low mana, so we're looking for a recall unless the enemy end up getting over aggressive here. And then you can see here that the Vayne ends up trying to stop my back, so I shield my teammate to go on to Vayne. And then Vayne decides to all in us, but because we poked them out so much earlier, we obviously get the kill onto them. I don't really know what Vayne was thinking there. But you can just see, you constantly have the pressure, you constantly have the ability to rotate, help your team out first. You're able to get the gold lead from turret plates, and you're just able to take a lot of advantage of your range and your poke. And then, again, you take these certain recall timers on your boots, like we recalled with my ADC at boots. Then later on here, we recalled a second time after we got additional pressure and kills in lane. That way, we're able to once again get into the lane about 30 seconds before the objective, push the lane out, get control over the lane, and then be able to rotate effectively towards a team fight at the dragon if we need it. Now, again, in this scenario, we end up getting ganked. Our teammate's not there. Game doesn't go well. But obviously, what we're really worried about here is not the result. We're worried about what we did to get to a place where we're going to be able to consistently have gold leads. We're even here when the game doesn't go well, we still have a 500 gold lead on our ADC has a 500 gold lead, and I also have a bit of a gold lead. So you can see even in those types of scenarios, you're still able to develop leads. And then if you do have jungle help or your team is doing better, then the game is going to be really nice, and you're going to be in a great position to rotate and help your team and everything like that. Okay, so now we're going to look at a very different scenario in duo lane where we're playing a really good all-in comp where they have the enchanter and the range and the poke advantage, but we have the all-in advantage, and we also have our jungler pathing towards me. So your goal in this type of lane is to create a couple all-in moments where you can get big trades on the enemy to eventually all-in them. Most of the time, you're not going to be able to all-in someone from 100, 100 health, 100% health to 0, so you need to create certain opportunities as the engaged support to get them a little lower. So here you're going to see I'm going to trade a lot of my health to go on the Karma just to give my teammate a bit of an engage to get him a little bit of poke. If I take some damage, but the Karma also takes damage, I'm happy with that because I want to create an opportunity for this Karma to be killed. And again, because my jungler is pathing towards me since he started on his blue side, I know that trading more heavily is going to be in my favor. So you're going to see because we have the level advantage, I'm even going to go for a really overly aggressive play because I know I'm going to trade flashes if I do that. We're up a level, so I'm not really in danger even taking that turret shot, and I can just simply recall and be in a perfectly fine spot. So what this allowed me to do was it made the lane volatile. I wanted to make the lane volatile because my jungle's pathing towards me. My lane needs to all in people to win, not to poke people, so I need to create these really aggressive trades, and then it gives me an opportunity to eventually recall and then find a good roam timer. And all of this was possible because we played around level 2 advantage. In the duo lane, the first minion of the second minion wave will give you level 2. So if you get that minion before the enemy get their first minion of the second minion wave, then you're going to have that level advantage and be able to take advantage of it. So then what I end up doing, because I got really low, is recalling early, letting my Xayah clear the wave, and then looking for a rotation elsewhere. This is why I end up going towards the middle lane, seeing if I can do anything. And I realize I'm not going to help him kill it. So what I do instead is help him push the wave so that he can have a roam opportunity. So if you're in this type of situation where you get that early lead in lane or where even you just end up having to recall, you can find an opportunity to roam by often going through the mid lane, giving the mid laner a chance to roam. And then because my mid laner can roam with me, we're able to easily get both of these kills for our teammates here and get a really nice start. And then notice how because my jungler, again, was pathing towards my duo lane and we blew the Karma flash early on in the lane, the Karma is actually going to end up dying too. And the reason for that is exactly what we did, early on, creating the volatility in the lane. So basically the things you guys need to understand about the differences in lane is not that, I played this perfectly or anything, definitely still made mistakes in the lane. The point is understanding the purpose of your lane. If the purpose of your lane is the first example where you want to poke, you want to get a pressure lead, you want to poke the turrets, maybe because you just want to play around the, that poke and that range advantage that you have, or that, just early game advantage you have, then you do that. But if you have this type of lane where you're the volatile matchup, you're the ones with really good all-in, but maybe it's really hard to get poked out, then you might want to create these more volatile situations that are going to allow you to then get these leads, and then eventually we're going to then set up a turret dive because I have my ultimate. And so I'm very, very tanky, of course. But yeah, just understanding kind of the differences. And just remember as well, in dual lane, lane priority is pretty much the most important thing. So notice how in both of these lane matchups, we're still trying to push the lane. Having control over the wave, pushing the wave first, almost always allows you to get a big lead because then you're going to get the level up first. You're going to have the lane pushing into them, so they're busy clearing waves while you can focus on poking them. So 95% of the time, you're really going to want to poke or push the lane. The only times you're going to really want to freeze is if you know the enemy have a really big threat on you. So say that they were like a Thresh Draven and you were like a Kai'Sa Yuumi. Maybe you let those people push into you because you know if you walk up and try to hit the wave, they're going to kill you. So there's going to be those rare scenarios where you do need to just give it up. But most of the time, you're going to want to try to pressure that lane, or that wave rather, get the wave pushing, and then use that to kind of get some type of lead. But again, just creating this volatility in this type of lane allowed us to get a pretty good advantage. Allows me to also have opportunities to roam, because if we're pushing the wave and then we create that volatility, the enemy either have to recall or they just get stuck in lane for a long time. And so if I use my recalls then by having the lane push first, it allows me a better opportunity to roam, or in other cases to dive. Because again, here you can see we are way up in level. My Xayah is 2 levels up on them. I'm 1 level up on them. And so I'm literally able to create a full dive opportunity from 100 to 0 at this point because of that lead we've created, just tanking the turret for my Xayah, and then Xayah ends up getting a double kill. Again, just understanding the purpose of your lane. I could have sat back and done nothing in this lane and just tried to scale, and also don't worry about me flaming my teammate. That was just a joke, obviously. I'm not toxic, guys, I swear. But understanding, again, if we just decided to do nothing, what would have happened to us is basically what you saw me do in the first game as the Karma Ezreal. We would have poked the enemy under their turret, they wouldn't have been able to do anything. You know, same with us. If we just let the enemy push into us, they'll use their range and their poke advantage. We'll get stuck under our turret. We'll be able to do nothing. But instead, because of the volatility I created, especially with the fact that my jungle was pathing towards me, that allowed me to give myself opportunities to roam, give myself opportunities to be around the map, and then later on come back and get that, you know, advantage back into my ADC through diving. So that is pretty much it for the video. I just wanted to show you guys these two different examples of a lane phase. Typical lane phases in dual lane, oftentimes they revolve around either having the poke and range advantage and the early game advantage, or maybe having a bit of better all in but maybe weaker poke, or, you know, that type of thing. So hope this video was valuable to you guys. If you enjoyed it, you know, maybe like or subscribe or do something like that, and I'll see you guys in the next video.